Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. To help fight COVID-19, Premier Ford is calling in the military. He's asking for the extra help for some of the province's hardest hit long-term care homes. At the same time, the province is now directing that all staff and residents be tested whenever there's an outbreak. Lisa Shing has the latest developments today.
This is how Peggy Lee Pierce has been seeing her mom, Lorraine, since the outbreak. The 97-year-old has been living at West Park Long-Term Care Home for more than 2 years. So far, she hasn't shown any COVID-19 symptoms.
We're all very concerned, but Mom reassures us via text message that she's doing okay.
West Park is also where the Premier's mother-in-law lives. It now has 35 cases of COVID-19 among residents and 12 deaths, more than double that of a week ago. 29 staff have also tested positive.
It's a terrible worry. You just don't know, you really just don't know how things are going to go.
When you're in a fight like this, you leave nothing on the table.
News Today, the government followed Quebec in asking the Canadian military to help with staffing and medical care of residents in 5 long-term care homes. And it's now ordering all residents and staff be tested once there's an outbreak.
I hope Mom's negative, but she is asymptomatic at any rate. So, but I think it's something that needs to be done, and for the staff as well.
Did we do it quickly enough? No.
Infectious disease specialist Isaac Bogosh has co-authored a study that's yet to be peer-reviewed. It found the risk of death in elderly people in long-term care is 13 times higher than for those 70 and older living in the community.
If there is a silver lining, it's that this pandemic has really brought significant attention to some of the neglect that's been happening in many, not all, but in many of these facilities.
There's many people, I was one of them, sitting there beating the drums 2 weeks ago saying we need everyone tested.
While that may be so, Premier Doug Ford has the power.
Well, meanwhile, the Ontario Nurses Association was in court today asking a judge to order 3 long-term care homes to do more to protect residents and healthcare workers from COVID-19. The affidavit lists Anson Place Care Centre in Hagersville, Eatonville Care Centre in Etobicoke, and Hawthorne Place Care Centre in North York. About 60 residents have died from the disease at those facilities. The ONA is arguing nurses and personal support workers are terrified of going to work because they're not being given adequate PPE. Now, the association claims that residents who had symptoms of COVID-19 continued to walk the halls, exposing other residents and staff to the virus. A lawyer for Eatonville says a labor ministry inspection, though, found the home was following protocols and inspectors didn't issue any orders asking staff to do things differently. The judge in the case has reserved his decision. Well, students worried about affording tuition in September got a bit of a break today. The federal government announcing a $9 billion assistance program meant to apply to students who were excluded from existing plans, helping out those who lost work because of COVID-19. Kel DeYoon has the details.
Aiden D'Souza is a student at Seneca College. He was looking forward to working this summer.
I had a job lined up since January, but unfortunately my employer told me it's not going to be possible for us to start. They want to protect the students first.
He understands that, but it's also been stressful. School ended last week and he's not sure what comes next.
A lot of students are really looking for jobs, but they can't find any.
To help, the Prime Minister announced the Canada Emergency Student Benefit this morning.
As young people, what you're going through matters. And we want to make sure that you'll be okay.
Students will be eligible for $12.50 a month from May through August. Those with a disability or are caring for someone can receive up to $17.50. And this benefit also extends to students who have a job, but they have to be making less than $1,000 a month.
The program is aimed at current students, those who've graduated since last December, as well as those starting in September.
Today I was so relieved.
U of T student Joshua Bowman thinks it's a step in the right direction, but not enough.
And a lot of questions are being asked about why CERB was not made universal.
The CERB payout is $2,000 a month. Bowman says he doesn't think the new benefit will be enough for many students.
Based on the lived experiences of students, you can see that it just doesn't match up.
The government is also doubling student grants, creating 76,000 jobs for young people, and providing stipends for students volunteering in essential services like healthcare.
The idea is if you can't find work, we want to help you find a meaningful service opportunity that you can still gain great experience in.
That's something Aiden would be interested in. He volunteered at Sunnybrook Hospital up until the pandemic.
I would definitely be interested in getting back to volunteering, just trying to help the community more.
The government says about 1 million out of 1.6 million post-secondary students in the country will be eligible for the new benefit. It expects to start depositing money by mid-May. Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
The search for a COVID-19 vaccine is already well underway around the world. Today, the University of Toronto joined in that race thanks to a $10 million donation. Ali Chasson spoke to the research lead for a new lab that's going to be working on this 24/7.
A vaccine teaches the body how to fight off disease.
So a vaccine would be either usually a sort of a disabled virus or a part of the virus that you would deliver in some way to humans. And in doing so, you would allow the human to sort of train their immune system to respond to that virus.
What is the first order of business in trying to develop a COVID-19 vaccine in this lab with your team?
So key is, of course, understanding some aspects of the biology. So we need to know how the virus gets into human cells, and we've actually made a lot of progress, the global community, in terms of understanding that.
Labs around the world have been working round the clock to develop a vaccine, and they've been making good progress.
We know the sequence of the virus, so we know its genetic code. We know the key features that are on the surface of the virus, the key spike protein that's crucial for the virus to be able to bind to human cells and get in. And if we can block that binding so the virus can't sort of unlock the entrance to the human cells, that would be a really key way to neutralize the virus.
Toronto has a lab that will be operating 24/7 on the U of T campus. It's called a Level 3 containment lab.
As the agent of disease gets sort of more dangerous, then you require more safety measures in terms of security. So things like negative pressure, so making sure that all the air comes in and nothing leaves the facility so that nothing could escape, for example, through air currents. Everybody works with special personal protective equipment, airflow is monitored, all these kinds of things to make sure that things go in, do not come out.
As for when a vaccine can be ready, 18 months is still an ambitious timeline. Clinical trials are not something you want to rush.
And that process takes a while. And so that's why there's some things you can't skip without risking sort of serious consequences. So we have to make sure that safety is not compromised as we race to deliver really important and much needed life-saving vaccines.
Toronto is now a serious contender in that race to find a vaccine. Ali Chasson, CBC News, Toronto.
The High Park cherry blossoms are going virtual this year amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The park will be closed. You won't be able to get anywhere near to see them. So Mayor Tory says the city is working to make the blossoms available to view online.
To encourage residents to stay home and stay safe, the city is working on a virtual walkthrough of the blossoming trees in High Park, which would be made available on a variety of different platforms. People will be able to experience this year's cherry blossom season in High Park through multiple live stream events and videos.
Now, High Park is already closed to vehicle traffic and will be closed to visitors during the pre-bloom and peak bloom periods, all to help maintain physical distancing. Each year, the blossoms draw tens of thousands of visitors, each looking for that perfect selfie. Starting today, the person serving you your double-double will be wearing a mask as Tim Hortons takes new steps to protect employees and customers.
We found it was really important to make sure we're not taking any masks away from folks that need it the most. So we're not using any medical grade masks, so masks that frontline workers, doctors, nurses would be using. These are not those types of masks. These are disposable, single-use masks. We've really tried to be ahead of the curve in terms of how we're protecting both our guests and our team members, and we thought masks were an important initiative to ensure the safety for everyone that's working here.
Employees at the coffee chain will also have to have their temperatures taken before the start of each of their shifts. Temperature checks will also be mandatory for delivery drivers who are delivering goods to the restaurants or food delivery services that are picking up orders. Staff will also be asked if they've had a fever or cough or shortness of breath since their last shift. Well, Toronto Public Health says it has begun tracking race-based data on the COVID-19 outbreak. The city wants to see if members of any ethnic groups are disproportionately affected.
If we're going to beat COVID-19, if we're going to protect the residents of our city, we need to know what we're up against, and that means collecting all the necessary information to ensure we can respond appropriately.
Cressy says the city is now collecting stats on race and ethnicities of those infected, along with their occupations. That's all to better understand how the virus affects different groups of people. Evidence from the United States shows some ethnic communities have been harder hit by the pandemic. The province has so far not committed to collecting this type of information, so Toronto Public Health says it will do it on its own. There are concerns tonight on this Earth Day that the province has suspended parts of the Environmental Bill of Rights. The government says it's so that officials can more quickly respond to the pandemic. But environmental and Indigenous groups, well, they aren't so sure. Lorenda Redekop has that story.
The government has suspended some environmental oversight rules, removing public consultations.
The public won't know when significant decisions may be made that have an environmental impact.
Environmental groups wrote to the government calling for this change to be revoked, saying that exemptions can already happen under current legislation. They give examples of what they worry this could mean.
If a mining company is seeking to renew a 10-year permit to take millions of liters of water from a lake on a daily basis, that wouldn't be posted. So notice of that activity.
The Environment Minister says this is about activities affected by the pandemic and says previous legislation didn't go far enough. Now it allows for quick construction of a field hospital, for example. He says the new regulation has been used once since it came into place under the Ministry of Agriculture, allowing some farmers to continue to do nutrient management. The minister says this is not about sliding in other changes without oversight.
No, not at all. It's not happening. My ministry is not going to be pushing anything through this order that has nothing to do with COVID-19, and the other ministries have been directed to follow current processes that have for reasons that are outside of COVID-19.
Obviously, we're very concerned about this. There doesn't seem to be an apparent reason to do this.
The opposition is also raising questions.
There's not a legal requirement to post anymore. I think when this is all said and done, we're going to have to ask retroactively, so what exactly was put through in the time that the exemption was in place?
The change is set to last until 30 days after the provincial emergency order ends. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
A money saver, it's good for the environment, and it's fun.
After the break, we'll have a primer on regrowing your food waste. Could save you a trip to the store, and you don't even need a back garden. Plus,
well, we had the benefit of the sunshine today, but those temperatures cool. And guess what? A system coming in for Thursday is likely going to bring some mixed precipitation and another cooler day. I'm meteorologist Colette Kennedy, and I will have all the details coming up after the break, including when it is going to warm up, and it's not that far away.
A 21-year-old man is under arrest and charged in connection with an incident at Yonge and Dundas that took place Monday night. Now, this video was posted on social media yesterday. You can see a Mustang doing several donuts right in the middle of the intersection. A police officer in the area attempted to pull the driver over, but they fled. The man arrested today is facing several charges, including stunt driving and mischief, endangering life. Time for a nightly check of the weather forecast with meteorologist Colette Kennedy. Colette, I like the sunny skies today. It made it feel, though, more like a day in November than April.
Yeah, we had the nice sunny skies. You're right, Mike. And then those winds would hit you and just about blow you over. You know, they were easing as we got into the evening hours, and so a little bit better now. But certainly our temperatures running well below seasonal. I mean, we barely got to half of this, an average daytime high around 13.2. But April is just often a month like this with all the ups and downs. And it's kind of illustrated here by a record high. It's in 1985, over 30 degrees. The very next year, same day, April 22nd, the record low was set, minus 4.7. So you can see how we have these sort of fluctuations for this month, and that's very typical. Now, there are the daytime highs, buried just at freezing, 4 degrees for Windsor, and yes, coming in at 6 unofficially for Toronto. And we do have this next system that's going to move in, so tomorrow's not looking like the greatest day, I have to tell you. First of all, we're looking at some of this mixed precipitation into southwestern Ontario, including a little bit of light freezing rain or freezing drizzle. Certainly that potential's there. We go in for a closer look, and you can see you get a break from some of that precipitation with that nearly stationary boundary kind of pushing through here. It's the cold air trying to push back with the warm air trying to come in, and obviously not winning that battle. So that's where we get into some of this freezing precip. But then we're going to start to see tomorrow the clouds increasing into the GTA. But look at how this line of rain showers, and likely there'll actually be a bit of a mix in here at times, is going to come through. So if you're north in the GTA, you may even see some sunshine and have your temperature go up a degree or two warmer than certainly what it's going to be around Hamilton or even Oakville or on towards St. Catharines, what you're going to be seeing in Niagara Falls with some of the precipitation there. And again, really kind of sloppy in nature. As we get later into Thursday, still a lot of cloud cover, but overnight towards Friday morning, we'll begin to get into a nice clearing trend. It takes longer, though, I'm afraid, for southwestern Ontario. However, it will mean that for portions of Lake Ontario, the temperature goes up quite nicely into Friday. Overnight tonight for southwestern Ontario, Windsor -3. Tomorrow, just 5 degrees with that kind of messy mix at times, but you'll get breaks from it at times too. And overnight tonight into the GTA, such a range of temperatures of overnight lows, just having to do with how this system is going to be working its way in, or at least the cloud cover associated with it. Also tomorrow, because of how this looks like it's going to track through a real range of what we'll see in conditions and of the temperatures. And if it slides a little further north, well, then you know what the impact will be a little further south, and there'll be pleasanter conditions all around. But that's what the track looks like. So 4 degrees with a mix for Thursday, Friday, mix of sun and cloud, and 11, and Saturday looks like some cloud cover there, but 11 as well. So nice to see some of those temperatures coming back, Mike.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Colette.
Weather Update is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. Take advantage of special offers now. It's hard to stop a Trane.
Well, right now in my house, my daughter is trying to grow new plants from tomato seeds, the ends of carrots, and other scraps from the kitchen. Turns out it's kind of trendy. During the pandemic, there's a new movement encouraging Torontonians to try to regrow their waste. Natalie Kalatis shows us how.
Mira Jane's social media is budding with examples of how to transform your scraps into second helpings.
It's a money saver, it's good for the environment, and it's fun.
The eco-blogger, teacher, and mom says it's easy, cheap, and a great way to limit trips to the grocery store during a pandemic.
Particularly during this time, it has actually been difficult to find some of the fruits and veggies and produce that I want. So the idea of regrowing my scraps kind of eases things a little bit. Okay, if I can't find green onions, I know I can regrow them. Or, oh, I'm out of lettuce, but I have a little bit of lettuce for my regrowth.
How easy is this to do for the average person?
Totally easy. If you just have some water, you can do a lot. If you have soil, then you can plant things and get more longevity out of them.
Laura Masarski has written books on apartment gardening. She shows us how to take these and regrow them at home.
I have this beet. This beet is just a beet that has some leaves on it. And I noticed they were like, so it's pretty lively. If I cut this, maybe say around here, it's hard to do that on camera. So if I just cut the top, this was a golden beet. This I can again put in water. And I'm not gonna get a whole beetroot, but I can get some new beet leaves, and beet greens are great to cook with. This was a lettuce that I had taken the outer leaves off the lettuce, and these small new leaves are growing back. I just have it sitting in a little bit of water.
Urban farmer Cheyenne Sundance says it's also a way to help those who are food insecure.
A lot of people who are actually interested in growing food, who have been growing food for years, are growing it because they just can't afford the supermarket prices.
Results can take days, weeks, or even months, all depending on what you try and regrow. But with millions self-isolating inside, why not give it a grow? Natalie Collada, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, professional women's hockey is going to return to Toronto next season. The National Women's Hockey League making it official today. It will be adding a Toronto franchise. There's no name yet, but already 5 players are under contract. The league now has 6 teams. It comes a year after the Canadian Women's Hockey League folded after 12 seasons. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Growing food insecurity is a side effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, driving many individuals and families to food banks. Humanity First is a relief organization based in Vaughan. Now, they also have a food bank there, which typically serves about 12,000 families per month. In the last 5 weeks, though, they have seen double that. Volunteers gave us a look at what's happening there day to day.
Due to the current COVID-19 pandemic, the food bank need has increased by double the fold in the last few weeks. As you can see here, there are many volunteers. Over a dozen volunteers are working right now. I have Karim Aziz Saib and his family is here helping out. We have other youth that are also here helping out with packing the food. We have a huge lineup outside in the lobby of the food bank as well.
There are many people who have been laid off, lost work. Millions of people are in financial crisis at this time. And at this time, Humanity First is offering free food to those who are in need. We are also assisting them with grocery pickup, prescription pickup, and providing counseling on the phone.
Our clients, what they do is when they come to the food bank, they're giving us a list by text, and we're compiling that text and preparing a food hamper for them. Each food hamper consists of food for up to 4 weeks, so the families don't have to keep coming back.
We are receiving donations. Today we have received some donation of food. Our volunteers are getting them ready, and it will be distributed to those who need it, and also who are unable to come out of their home. We're going to deliver the food and other items. At this time, the needs and the demands are very high, and every bit will count, so thank you.
Well, thank you for everything you're doing. If you'd like to share a story about your frontline hero, send us a selfie-style video explaining why they are a hero to you. Tag us on Twitter or Instagram at CBC Toronto. Send us a message on Facebook or email us at torontotips@cbc.ca. And that is our newscast for tonight. Are you a fan of Kim's Convenience? If not, it is a great show to binge on CBC Gem. Well, 2 stars from that show, Paul Sun-Hyung Lee and Andrew Fung, are holding weekly chat sessions with fans on Zoom. Tomorrow on Metro Morning, they're going to talk about why they're doing it and just how popular it is. You can hear that just before the 8:30 news. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.